Well, hello. I wanted to talk a little bit about damage scaling in UNI. At least what I've learned or how I think it works based on my experience. Well, I think the damage scaling of the combo is determined by the properties of the first hit. Was it like 2C? Was it like 5C? 3C? Was it like 5A? Was it 2A? Did you have vorpal? Did you grid break them? Was it a counter? Like those type of things kinda determine the damage scaling of the combo, right? Maybe this is a little bit obvious, or maybe it works the same in every game, I don't really know. But I'm gonna explain further what I mean with this. Right, so based on those determined triggers, the game will give you a higher damage ceiling before the moves start tickling for 10 damage. Like you do, like you are on the end of the combo and you input like a Reka, you input like 2A, you input like 5C, any type of like move, the move will start dealing like almost, and I said this with like without meaning it 100%, but almost like negligible damage, you know, like I said, 10-20 damage, and it's not that important, or I don't know if it isn't important, but it is like a little bit like it's not gonna change that much the overall damage of the combo at the end. But that damage ceiling is kinda set in the sense that the possible amount of damage before you start tickling the opponent is kinda already determined by the circumstances of that first hit, but with what moves you decide to fill the damage bar is kinda optional, because what is set is the damage potential the combo has, not what you choose to fill it with. Since the scaling is lower, for example, in a big hit, doesn't really matter if you choose to fill the damage bar with a 5C or 5BB. At the end, you're really getting closest to the tickling phase at the same pace. Only difference being you choose to press 2 buttons or 1 to get to the same damage threshold. Basically, the scaling UNI is more affected after the hit of the damage you're able to put out with a limit, rather than the moves you choose to fill that damage with. Well, I'm gonna give a basic example of a common like combo route or situation that you will see a lot in playing rank and stuff, to kind of elaborate what I meant with all that I said. So basically I'm gonna try to do like a basic like combo route for Yakuza without overcomplicating myself. So this is 2B from mid-screen, no vorpal. It did 3-3-4-4, right? So yeah, now I'm gonna do like a more optimal route in terms of damage to show you. In this situation, like mid-screen with no vorpal, starting with 2B regular hit, and we said 3-3-4-4 last combo with a basic route, right? We did 3-5-3-2. 3-5-3-2. I kinda botched that combo, but in the end the difference is about 188 less damage. That it isn't negligible, but it's not that big. So if you were to be in a pressure situation, or you just don't feel that comfortable, I think it's valid to go for a simpler route and forgo like 200 damage in order to ensure you get a Oki, which is super important, especially in a character like Yakuza. I would think that for that reason, of course optimals are good and stuff, but you could theoretically choose simplified routes and be okay for the most part, and this situation is applicable to every first hit and its properties. So yeah, I'm gonna like give you a different example with different like first hit properties to kind of show you that you can choose completely different routes and still get about the same type of damage. So we're gonna start with 2C with vorpal and counter grid break. So let's see. Well, let's see. We did about like 4300 damage here. Now let me think of a simple route, maybe something like this. We are out 4200, so the difference is about 100 damage. Let me see this. So we did 4300 here. So the difference is about like 100 damage, and the routes were pretty different for the most part, right? So I just wanted to show you that no matter like the type of hit it is, like the different properties it has, the same thing applies. That's what I wanted to say. So you could, in theory, learn like what, 2 or 3 simple BMBs. The simpler you can do them, and just repeat them over and over, and learn them in a day or something, in 2 days, and just hop on ranked and be pretty much fine. You could almost even like never learn something more complex, maybe add a tiny little bit things here and there, but it's not necessary to just learn the most complex, the best combo route in terms of damage every single time, because in UNI that route amplifies the difficulty of the combo by a lot, and it ends up being like little amounts of damage. So you don't really need to do the most optimal routes unless like you want them or you're interested in it, but it's not like super necessary. So you basically could have like one BMB for like high juggle combos, like assault, 5A, 2A, and you could have one for like low juggle combos, like 5B, 3C, 5C, 2C, and in some situations you can even merge them. You can go the 5C, 3C route. It's like, for example, with Yakuza, that the game teaches you in missions, which is pretty simple, and you can just do it pretty much exactly the same, like in both high and low juggle situations, and it will squeeze the most amount of damage of that particular hit, almost, right? So yeah, and you could add up, if you wanted to, maybe a route for maybe anti-airs, which are kinda like finicky and unique in terms of like the route you want to go for them, because they start on the air. So you can do like a simple route, something like that, and just learn that route, and you're pretty much fine with 2 or 3 simple BMBs. And one more thing I wanted to add is that skill damage is not determined by the button you used to press it. What I mean by this is you have Rekka A and you have Rekka B. They both do the same damage, and this applies even inside of a combo. Like with 2-A is the same, with 2-B is the same. They both do 700 damage. So if I just do a simple demonstration, like I do 5C Rekka A, 967, 5C Rekka B, 967, like 5C 2-A, 1138, 5. I have to space it out. The combo. This is the same damage, right? No, what? Well, I learned something new. I thought it. Ow. Let me see in the corner. Yeah, it does the same damage, but since it's spaced out, somehow it does less. I don't know, I'll have to learn that, like, I have to keep investigating that, but yeah, for the most part, it is the same. You could just, for example, a combo usually has multiple situations where you do Reka, for example, right? So you could just always use Reka B and do the same amount of damage. It's not, the game is registering the skill usually, not the buttons you use to input that skill or the variable of that skill itself. It's just, for the game, it's just the skill inside of the combo. So you could just don't break your head trying to like use every single like possible type of like skill mode or variable inside of a combo. You could just always use Reka A in a combo, you could use Reka B. Of course they have different frame data, so sometimes you kinda need one or the other because it will drop, but in terms of damage it's basically the same. So you're not gonna do more damage if you start the combo with Reka A and then continue with Reka B. It's gonna be the same damage as if it were just Reka, and the same applies for 2-2X, or 2-2A or 2-2B. Well, basically I wanted to add one more thing, and I don't know if I'm gonna add this at all or maybe put it at the end of the video. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's kind of related with damage scaling, but not with what I was saying before, right? I wanted to show that in order to maximize damage to whatever combo route you decided to go with, the scaling will be lower if you prioritize the higher possible damage move you haven't input prior, like when you were doing the route, when you started the route first. I'm gonna show you an example because maybe I'm not clear. So let's say I go for this route, right? That's me, and right now I'm gonna do two Bs before I do a 2C at the end, and then I'm gonna try the damage with doing a 2B, then doing a 2C, and then doing a 2B at the end. Because like you would think, since 2B does more damage than 2C and the scaling is lower in the middle of the combo, you get better damage doing 2B first before the scaling gets too high and then doing 2C. But I have like seen it doesn't really work like that. So the game kinda prioritizes, if you did 2B first, if the next move that does the higher damage, let's say whatever move it is gonna get better scaling if you do it first, and then at the end of the combo you prioritize, since the scaling is already high and you already press almost all possible buttons in the round or whatever, then it's like kinda better or more optimal to choose the higher damage possible combo move to get the most damage. But at the end, like I'm gonna show you. So with this in mind, I'm gonna try to do like a basic 2B route, dash B route, sorry, to kinda show you this. So I'm gonna go with this. Here I'm gonna go 2C first, simple route, 3696. Okay. So now I'm gonna go for 2B, then end the combo with 2C. Okay. If I can. So it is 3615. So at the end, you seen that I just interchange like where I press 2B and where I press 2C in the middle of the combo, and even though logic might say, like, since the scaling is lower, doing the higher damage move is gonna give you more damage, it doesn't necessarily work like that. Again, it's really low amounts of damage, but this is a detail I wanted to add because, like I said, like you see, it is exactly the same route. Again, with Byakuya specifically, since it has Reka and jump to C with multiple hits, I can't miss one hit or maybe do one more hit in the other combo, but at the end it's not gonna amount to 100 damage in the end of the combo. So I think it's basically because I pressed 2C first when I already pressed 2B before pressing 2B twice again. I'm sorry if I said something stupid or incredibly obvious, but I just wanted to help maybe someone who may want to get into the game or already is but feels a little bit overwhelmed with optimals and stuff, because in this game they are notoriously hard, like, and at the end not that necessary, at least when you're starting, or I would argue like overall they are not that necessary, because like I said, at the end of the day, getting Oki and foregoing like 100 or 200 damage, it's much more important than trying to get those 200 damage more and like dropping the combo and not getting Oki basically. Or maybe you can just fill up the most of the damage bar of that set possible damage of the combo and try to go for resets. So it's not really that important to just do optimals all the time. Again, I'm not trying to say that optimals are bad or you shouldn't go for them and stuff, but I think it's okay to kinda like start like focusing on different things or other things before you start like go in on doing all those optimals, so you get like the maximum amount of damage of every type of hit.